and resort, which we go to all the time, and your son Eric doing a fabulous job managing that. If you've never been there, that's one of the most charming places to be at, and we're only from here about an hour away, sir.
It is a beautiful job, I'll tell you. It's an incredible place. It was built by John Flugie many years ago, and we bought it a long time ago, and we really upped it, and it's been incredible, doing incredible business, actually, and people love it. Right next to the home of Thomas Jefferson, it actually abuts, and it's really been something. A lot of people go, as you know. We expand it every year, so it's been a lot of fun.
Well, and it's a fabulous place. If nobody's checked that out, the Trump Winery, just outside of Charlottesville, just absolutely gorgeous. You spend a weekend there, you're going to be totally revitalized. Now, President Trump, thanks for being with us. The timing of your appearance today on our show is perfect because, as you know, Ann, my wife Ann, and I just purchased 2 major radio stations outside of Pittsburgh to go along with our 2 in Philadelphia and Atlanta, the other areas, Virginia.
Right.
Yeah, and we're moving to Pittsburgh in August, so you get 2 more. You get 2 more constituents to help you win Pennsylvania. But you got a big rally coming up. You got a big rally coming up in Erie
That's right.
Saturday, and we're just right there. We're gonna be live. So your timing's excellent. Tell us about Erie and your rally.
Well, I've done really well there. Erie used to be a very Democrat stronghold, and I came along, and we did phenomenally there. We got a vast amount of the vote, and we won. As you know, we won Pennsylvania first time in many, many decades, I guess, and we won. And then we won again, but it was a rigged election, frankly. But I did better the second time than we did the first time, and we did great. And we did, we got even in the second election, I got millions more votes than I got the first election. So people say, well, how come you did great the second? I said, well, I don't know. We did better, much better in the second election than we did in the first. But we won the first, and the second one, you know the story better than probably almost anybody, John. Too bad. But
Well,
Erie's been a very special place to us. Erie's been special because, again, it used to be Democrat, and
Right.
we switched it. We flipped it, and now it's great. And we're gonna have a great rally. We're actually doing it inside. Usually, I like the outdoor rallies, but because you can hold so many more people. But this is a big venue. It's a very big place, the stadium, and you'll have a little bit of air conditioning, but you have a lot of air conditioning, so it's a lot easier. But the outdoor, we had 80,000 people in South Carolina, and these places can't hold that. The arenas, they just can't hold that.
You're just people don't realize how popular you are out there. And I tell you what inspired us to buy these radio stations. Remember you had the rally in October in Latrobe, I think it was by Arnold Palmer Airport. Well, we were there, Ann and I, and we were there. Our Trump Mega MAGA bus was there. You had like 50,000 people come out on Saturday football day. And my wife is saying to me, like, why don't we own a radio station here? Look at all these Trump voters. So I think you're going to, there's something going on in Western Pennsylvania for blue collar workers, because that's what that is. That's what the whole Pittsburgh area is, which I think is people are really underestimating the number of voters and enthusiasm that you have out there, sir.
If we got an honest count, if they didn't drop all those ballots at whatever it was in the morning, that is a Trump state. That is an absolute Trump state. I can't say if it's a Republican state, because we've had some Republicans that aren't Republicans like you would like to see them be. So I don't want to really say Republican state, but I can tell you we do phenomenally there. They believe in the closed borders, let people in, but they have to come in legally. I mean, when you look at what's happening to our country now with the open borders, where millions of people are flowing through from jails and from mental institutions. They're coming in from mental institutions. The mental institutions of many countries are being literally emptied out into the United States of America. And when you look at what's happening and what this group is doing to our country, there's never been, I say it during speeches, you could take the 5 worst presidents and add them up, and they haven't done the damage that this guy has done.
the shenanigans that went on in Pennsylvania in 2020, where they blocked Corey Lewandowski from going in, put cardboard up on windows, ballots coming in the middle of the night, all the shenanigans. What does the Trump campaign, what does the RNC have in place right now to stop that from happening again in November 5th, 2024?
Well, we're prepared for it. Now, until this stuff happened, I campaigned. I was a happy warrior. I campaigned. And then at 4 o'clock in the morning, I left Iowa, and I left I think I did 7 rallies that day, if you can believe it. These were big rallies. But I went home, and I watched. And the people that were running these places, now they were being led by, they were being literally hurt by thugs. You had thugs in there telling them to get out. You had poll watchers and voter watchers where thugs, absolute thugs, were telling them to get out, get the hell out of here. And, the stuff that went on was unbelievable. Now, I as a candidate, I'm supposed to go home after and watch and see, but nobody's ever seen like what happened. Now, they used COVID to cheat and various other things, but they had people in there that were bad people, and we're going to do it, and I'm going to be involved this time. The most important time isn't, in my opinion, leading up to the election. It's what they're doing with the election, the vote. And, some of these votes now last for 2 months instead of the old days we had one-day voting. And, what happens in 2 months? A lot of things happen in 2 months. And we should have one-day voting. We should have paper ballots, and we should have voter ID, and you'd have honest elections. And that's what we should have. When you see these votes where they take 42 days and they have ballots sitting all over the place, it's a disgrace. We're like a third world nation. Absolutely. And now they're using a new tactic, and that's using the DOJ and the FBI to go after candidates. This is their new tactic. It's a third world, fairly common third world tactic. But now for the first time, this country is using it. So they take a bogus charge and they go out and indict you and subpoena you and all that stuff. And, fortunately, at least so far, it's had a huge impact, much different than they thought. They thought they could get you out of a race. They don't want to run against me, John. They want to run against any one of the other people, anybody. They want anybody but me. So they go out and they smear you. Now, with their disinformation, they say, we want to run against Trump. We want to run against Trump. If they wanted to run against me, they wouldn't be trying to get me out so badly by coming up with all this nonsense that they come up with.
So they roll out 2 more indictments today, 2 more phony indictments having to do with the documents. Then you're going to get indicted, or so they're saying, most likely on J6, even though you said go peacefully. Then you got Fannie Willis in Georgia. You made a perfect phone call. I heard the call. I was in Raffensperger's office for 4 hours one day doing my show live. He never brought the phone call up one time as being an issue. Now you're going to get indicted over it. But every time you get indicted, your poll numbers go up. So has this just backfired on them? Where are they taking this?
Yeah, nobody thought that could happen. They didn't think that could happen, so they indict me. First of all, the public is very smart. They know it. They study it. This isn't like, he held a gun in plain view and he shot someone, or he robbed a bank and he got caught. When you look at the things that they did with Hillary Clinton, where she deleted 33,000 emails and there was no problem, after a subpoena, and there was no problem. You look at all the things they've done, so crooked. They're crooked. And look at the way they handle the election. They're crooks, and they're horrible people. And we have to win this election. We have to win this election, or we don't have a country left anymore, John.
Well, listen,
and that includes your 2 new stations in Pittsburgh.
I mean, no business, no country.
Take them away from you.
You don't have anything.
Take them away from you. The communist way.
Yep. Listen, going through this is not easy. So let me just ask you, we've been friends a long time, straight out. How is your family holding up? First Lady, Barron, how's the family holding up through all this?
Well, I try and keep them shielded and out of it. I just, stay away from the standpoint of this. But it's always unpleasant when you have to go in and tell your wife that, by the way, tomorrow sometime I'm going to be indicted. And she says, for what? I say, I have no idea. I have absolutely no idea. Normally, exactly. But these people, these are thugs. Jack Smith is, I call him deranged Jack Smith. He's a prosecutor who's been overturned unanimously in the Supreme Court. Vicious tactics. They went after 2 fine employees yesterday, fine people. And I don't think they think that the tapes were even changed. These were my tapes that we gave to them. And they basically then say that's not enough. I don't think we would have had to give it. I'm not sure that we would have even had to give it. These were security tapes. We handed them over to them. I doubt we would have, if we wanted to fight that, I doubt we would have had to give it. But regardless, we gave it. Now, I'm not sure I'm not even sure what they're saying. They're trying to intimidate people so that people go out and make up lies about me because I did nothing wrong. They're trying to, and I come under the Presidential Records Act, which is civil. It's not even criminal. But they're trying to intimidate people, and so they have to lie to get out of a problem. But these are 2 wonderful employees. They've been with me for a long time, and they're great people.
It's unbelievable.
And they want to destroy their lives.
Well, this is what they want to destroy your life as well and get you off the ballot. So let me ask you this. If going forward, right, you get these indictments, there ends up, you got a jury in D.C., you get convicted and sentenced. Does that stop your campaign for president if you're sentenced?
Not at all. There's nothing in the Constitution to say that it could, and not at all. And even the radical left crazies are saying, no, that wouldn't stop. And it wouldn't stop me either. These people are sick. What they're doing is absolutely horrible. Look at Hillary Clinton. Look at what these other people got away with. You know, Obama took documents. Bush took documents. They all took documents. Take a look at Bill Clinton. They call it the socks case, where he took them out in his socks. Okay, he took stuff out. He put it in his socks, no problem. In fact, had a case which exonerated him, and it was a civil case. Nobody's ever gone through this. This is crazy. And you have a thing called the Presidential Records Act, and I come under the Presidential Records Act, and it's so obvious what it says. You're allowed to do this, and they have to ask you for it. They can ask, and at most they have a civil case. But these people don't even mention the Presidential Records Act. It was set up, and it's only for presidents. Now, Biden wasn't the president, but this is set up only for presidents, and it's really, it's disgraceful. And, you know, so much good could be done. If everybody focused on running the country instead of this, that's all that we do for 20 years. That's all that's been happening with this country. Investigations and gotcha. It's a terrible thing that's happened to this country. This country is, you know, we're a failing nation. This is a nation that's failing. 4 years ago, I had this country energy independent. We were making a fortune. We were going to start paying off debt. We had the lowest taxes that we've had in years. I got the greatest tax cut, the biggest tax cut ever. I got the biggest regulation cut ever. We were a nation that was doing good. Now look at us with the Afghanistan horrible, most embarrassing moment, I think, in the history of our country. And then because of that, Russia goes in and invades Ukraine because they think we're a bunch of dummies. And so many other things. You look at inflation, the way it's killing. Look at the millions and millions of people are pouring into our country. It's so bad. Now they want to take away your cars. They want to take away your washing machines. They want to take away your showers, water coming out of your showers. It's so ridiculous. And I had it all fixed. And they've just, all of these rules. You know, when you go into a house, you get no water because you're forced to put on, even an area like Pennsylvania where you have so much water you don't know what to do with it. You know, most states do. It's called rain. You know, it's called rain. But you have things that aren't allowed to work. You have washing machines where they don't give you any water or very little. So you have to use it 5, 6 times. You have dishwashers with no water in it. The water comes out so little you have to press the button 10 times. It is so bad. Everything was freed up. Now they put all of that back. That's called living condition, in all fairness. It sounds like not a big deal, but it is to people. You know, it's a way of life. They want to literally take away your life. Now they want everybody to have an electric car, but we don't have enough electric to keep our cities open. There are brownouts, by the way, all over California, blackouts and brownouts. but now they want to add cars to it. They're crazy. I think they want to destroy our country, but these people are absolutely crazy. And if we don't get it changed, if we don't change it in this next election, it's the last time. I don't think this country is going to survive.
So, getting back to the election, 2 days ago you put out a very powerful video taking the position, endorsing a comprehensive vote early and mail-in ballot and ballot harvesting plan where it's legal, which, as you know, I've advocated for some time, getting away from the insane strategy of voting on election day only, so we get 15 hours, they get 55 days. What inspired that, Mr. President?
Well, the other wasn't working, and this was a theory that a lot of people have. You know, because Republicans do like to vote on Tuesday. They like to go and vote and see the vote and feel it. You know, they're proud Americans. That's the way it's been. And by the way, that's the way it should be. You know, the stuff with sending your ballots all over when you have mail-in ballots, you're never going to get an honest vote. It's just not. It goes through so many people. They're being sent to people that aren't supposed to be getting them. There's no security. It's disgraceful. You know, France had mail-in ballots and they gave it up because it didn't work. They have right now. They just had an election recently. They had 36 million votes. It was all voted in one day, paper ballots. Very simple. One day, paper ballots, voter ID, and they had no complaints. But they had mail-in ballots. It didn't work, and they went to good old paper ballots, and they went one day. Think of it, one day. No problem. They had a winner, they had a loser by 10 o'clock in the evening, and that's where we should be too. And we've got to get it back, and one of the things I'll do is get that back.
Well, one of the things that you've talked about is when you put your hand on the King James Bible, January 20th, noon 2025, you're going to immediately release all of these so-called classified documents. CIA just release everything for the American people to see, expose it all. Is that still the plan?
Yeah, it is. I mean, unless there's something that somebody could show me on specifically, you know, somebody would be hurt or somebody would be very badly maligned. But for the most part, yeah, we got to open it up. Absolutely.
So all the polling out recently for the Republican nomination shows you gaining tremendously. For instance, you've got about a 45-point lead now over the field. Head up with DeSantis, you're 70-30. This is a 40-point lead. This guy's campaign is imploded. I mean, he just laid off. He had 2 layoff waves. He's laid off almost half his staff. They're out of money. They can't go back to these donors because they've maxed out. His campaign is an absolute clown show. What is your advice to Ron DeSantis right now?
I think he has to get out for the good of the party. He could have waited and he would have been odds-on favorite for 28, but he didn't do that. I got him elected. If it weren't for me, he wouldn't be governor. He'd be working in a law office right now, doing whatever he was going to do. He was dead. When I endorsed him, he came begging for an endorsement. When I endorsed him, he had a couple of days of like a rocket ship. In one day, he was losing by to Adam Putnam, the Commissioner of Agriculture. He was losing at a level that you would never even believe possible. I even said, I don't think that if George Washington came back from the dead, if Abraham Lincoln came back from the dead, I don't think they can help you, Ron. You're dead. He said, no, please, if you endorse me. So anyway, I endorsed him, and he ended up winning easily, and then we got him past the general election running against a then very hot candidate who Ron didn't think he could beat, but we beat him. And then 3 years later, they asked him a question, "You're going to run against the president?" And he said, "I have no comment." And I said, "Wait a minute, did he say he has no comment? That means he's running. We know political speak, you and I, John." They said, "That means he's running. This guy, I got him in, and he's going to run against me." So we hit him hard. But the fact is, he's a lousy campaigner. Remember, he was at like 3 when I endorsed him. So on his own, without endorsement, without my endorsement, he was at 3. He was a lousy campaigner. Well, he's proven to be a terrible campaigner. He's got no personality, and he's proven to be a very bad campaigner. And it looks like he'll be superseded by somebody else. I don't know. It's he's really gone back to the pack, and I've gone way forward. and we're leading by 50, 60 points in many cases.
So the debate in Milwaukee, put on by the RNC, August 23rd, have you made a decision on that, Mr. President?
Well, when you're leading by 60 points, and when you have people that are at zero, you actually have one guy 0 and the arrow is pointing left. So I don't know what that means. Probably those are the phony votes that came in, phony votes. So he got none of them too, so he got less than 0 votes. But when you're leading by numbers like that, okay, and you put yourself out with a hostile network, because I consider it a hostile network, and you have very hostile people that have done very poorly. They have not caught on at all, and they won't. Like guys like Asa Hutchinson. I call him Ada Hutchinson. But Asa Hutchinson, he's at 0. I can go through the whole list. They're at 0, 1, or 2% for the most part. And Nikki Haley hasn't caught on. She's working hard, hasn't caught on, which I said she probably wouldn't be able to. Others haven't caught on. Well-known names haven't caught on. I mean, well-known politicians have been bad. So they're at 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6%, and I'm at 67%. I saw one where I'm at 78%. You see, why would I do that? To get up to 79%? Why would I do it? Why would I put myself at the sort of at the mercy of a hostile network with very hostile people? Doesn't make sense. And so I am thinking about it. I haven't made a final decision, but it doesn't seem to make sense. Ronald Reagan didn't do it. Nixon didn't do it. A lot of people didn't do it. When you have a big lead, you generally tend not to do it. And my lead is bigger than anybody's lead.
Much bigger, actually. Let's get to
Yeah.
let's get to the life issue, Mr. President. Nobody has been a bigger defender of the unborn child than President Trump. Roe v. Wade overturned, but now this is inspiring huge Democrat turnout, up to and including winning the mayorship, the Democrats in Jacksonville, Florida, where that was front and center. That was R+10. Democrat won that. And the mayor of Jacksonville has nothing to do with abortion. 0. But they're getting the turnout. Yeah. How are you going to address the American people on this issue?
Well, I think Republicans don't know how to talk about the issue. First of all, we did something that couldn't be done for 50 years. We got rid of Roe v. Wade. But now you have to be able to understand what's going on and the issue. It got it back to the states, and it gave pro-lifers something to negotiate. We have a tremendous power of negotiation now because of that victory, because it's in the states now, and you have a tremendous power of negotiation. Now, I happen to be for the exceptions, like Ronald Reagan was for the exceptions, like many people, most people are for the exceptions, and that's the life of the mother and rape and incest. Okay. Now, I feel strongly about that. Some people are not in favor of the exceptions. When you're for the exceptions, people really do understand it makes the process really a lot easier from the standpoint of voting. You have to go by your heart. You have to go by what you believe. But I happen to be, Ronald Reagan happens to be for the exceptions. We have, in Roe v. Wade, we have gotten tremendous leverage in terms of negotiating. Here's what I say, though. They are the radical ones. You have to be able to sell this, because it's easy to sell when you know it. They are the radical ones, John, because they'll kill the baby after 4 months, after 5 months, after 6 months, 7 months, 8 months, 9 months, and after the baby is born. They have where they will kill the baby after the baby is born. The baby is now born, and they will kill the baby in some cases, and in some states where you're actually allowed to do that. So they are the radical ones. We're not the radical ones. But what you have now is a mechanism and a way, because of determination. Number one, you have it back in the states, which all legal scholars on both sides want it. They wanted it back in the states where it should be. but you have a tremendous negotiating power now that you didn't have before. And remember, they are the radical ones, not us, because nobody wants to see a baby killed at the 7th, 8th month, 9th month, 5th month. I mean, nobody wants that. And you have something now that you can get that, frankly, without this, because without this, you had nothing. They were doing whatever they wanted to do. When you had Roe v. Wade, they were doing whatever they wanted to do. The pro-lifers had absolutely nothing to say. They had no power. Now you have the upper hand, and you have a power to negotiate. And nobody thought that we'd ever be able to get that.
Well, this is going to be a tough issue, and I think, but you're right, it's got to be addressed with young people, which I'm going to get to now, because I just want to tell you this story. My son Joe, who you know, you met him at the White House when he had the Astros in. He's now a pitcher for West Virginia University. And I've been traveling around with him for years in baseball. And the number of young men, all races and creeds, that are for Trump and are Christians is under the radar screen. In fact, he told me the other day, he said, I play on this baseball team, all colors, all creeds. He said, Dad, there's not a single young person here on this team that's not for Trump. How are you going to appeal to young people and Zoomers specifically?
Well, based on what you're saying, I shouldn't be doing too much. I mean, look, I see it. I go to the rallies. Our rally in Erie is going to have a lot of young people. I see it 100%. We are hitting the young person's market like nobody's ever seen before. We've got to win this election. Look, this election has to be won. It's going to be won by everybody. It's going to be won by the suburban housewife, as they like to say, because they want safety, they want borders, they don't want people coming in from mental institutions by the millions and from prisons and terrorists, by the way. They are seeing things that they've never seen before. Our country is in greater danger than ever before. We have a man that can't put together two sentences. He's being defended by a radical left group of lunatics that happens to be very smart, but he's just like a vessel. He's not calling shots. The ones that are calling shots are the people surrounding him, and they're crazy. The Jack Smiths of the world. These are crazy lunatic nut jobs, and we've got to win this. We've got to win this, John. And I want you to keep owning those stations, but you're not going to own anything if this doesn't happen, because we're not even going to have a country left. I used to say we're not going to allow socialism. Well, we didn't allow socialism because socialism, they skipped that station. We're dealing with Marxism and fascism and communism. That's where this country's going to. That's why they've weaponized the Justice Department like never before. And, John, we got to win this. We got to win. We're going to be talking about it. I hope you're going to be there. If you can be, it'd be great. But we're going to be in Erie. We're going to have a tremendous crowd. That place will be so sold out. They're always sold out. You know, again, in South Carolina 2 weeks ago, 80,000 people showed up. And that's the only thing with these, with these venues. Even though you think even if you have an 18,000 seat arena, you'd think it would be plenty big, right? If any of the other candidates went to Erie on Saturday, if they had 100 people show up, they'd be surprised. 100, and we'll have tens of thousands of people show up. So there's something happening out there. But we have to make sure the vote count is honest, and we'll get back our energy independence, and we'll have it back soon, and we'll be energy dominant. We'll make a lot of money. We'll pay off debt. We'll lower taxes. We'll rebuild our military. I rebuilt our military, and I had ammunition packed to the gills, and now we don't have any ammunition, which he should have never said, because that really, a week ago, Biden said we have no ammunition. That's not something he should have said, even if it were true. And that's not something he should have allowed to happen. We are a country with no ammunition. How do you think China likes hearing that?
That's a joke. All right, I know you got to go. Final question. Jerome Powell, you appoint him chairman of the Fed, just raised interest rates again. Are you happy with his work? And when you're president, does he stay or go?
Well, I was very tough on him because he had the rates too high. He was a high interest rate guy, and he had the rates too high. and he is somebody that I am not a particular fan of. I appointed him. He did the job, but he always seemed to be late. He was always late. Whether it was raising or lowering, he was always late. And that's an instinct more than it is anything else. So he was okay. I was surprised that they kept him, frankly. I think they kept him because they knew I didn't like him, if you want to know the truth. If they thought I liked him, they wouldn't have kept him. But so he's there. He's doing his job. I find him not to be a good communicator. He was highly recommended by people, and he, I think he's given them a hard time. But the interest rates are very high, and the economy's not doing well. As you know, the economy is actually doing really badly, much worse than you would say. If you look at some of the really important indicators and figures, the economy is doing very badly, and it's being a little bit falsely led by the stock market, because the stock market's doing pretty well. So we'll see what happens. I can tell you, people want jobs and they want them differently. And when you see the 3.5%, that's because a lot of people aren't looking for jobs, so they're not counted. Because a lot of people aren't looking for jobs, and they're not counted. But we have a country that's in big trouble. We have a man that can't put together two sentences, and he's dealing on the nuclear weapons with guys like President Xi of China, and they're at the top of their game. All these guys are at the top of their game, and we have a guy that was never at the top of a game.
Mr. President, we're out of time. I really want to thank you for being with us today. I encourage anybody, if you're in the area, the big rally Saturday night in Erie, you can go to donaldjtrump.com. There's still a few tickets available. Also, we understand you'll be in Iowa tonight for the Lincoln Day dinner. You're speaking at 9:30. Right. RAV covering you there, and so that's going to be another fabulous night. So, good. Look,
well,
good luck.
I did a lot for the farmers, so Iowa should be mine. We've got some great polls.
Well,
I got China to give them $28 billion. Okay, how about that? You ever hear of that one before? But China put up, because they took advantage of our farmers in this country, and I got China to give them $28 billion. Nobody else got that. That I can tell you.
No, don't forget, you also got our aluminum industry back. You got our steel industry back. You got those jobs back. You put the tariffs on that. You raised hundreds of billions of dollars in tariffs. Another thing that people don't realize, you made Trudeau in Canada stop dumping lumber into the U.S. You revitalized our lumber industry with that. People forget about that. They were also dumping in milk for the dairy farmers in Wisconsin. You stopped that. There's all this stuff they never want to talk about this. All they want to talk about is some stupid document in Mar-a-Lago. That's just how ridiculous this whole thing is.
Yeah, Canada was taking advantage of us really a big league. They took advantage of us so badly. You're talking about the milk drops, but even the cars. I mean, they took over a big portion of our car industry.
Yep.
And I got rid of NAFTA. NAFTA was the worst trade deal ever made, and now we have the USMCA. That's Mexico, Canada, and it's so good that they're trying to renegotiate it, and they shouldn't renegotiate it, because we lived with that NAFTA for years, where they took advantage. I mean, they took our car business away. Mexico is 32% of our car business. Over the years, they got this. And Canada has a vast percentage. They had none. They took it away from us. And but with me, we get it back. So it's one of those things. But we had a great 4 years. And it's great to talk to you, John, and I appreciate it. And I'll be in Erie, and I'll be in Iowa tonight, so that'll be great.
All right, we'll see you in Erie, and Mr. President, again, thank you for your time with us and our audience, sir. Thank you, and good luck.
Thank you, John.
Thank you
very much. Appreciate it. Bye.
All right.